2 hours. And these kathas provide an authentic version of festivals and key pastimes in the Puranas and the Ramayana. So it's going to be an amazing one. Just a little bit about Sri Raman and his background. He's actually with HSBC. From the time I've known him, I don't think he's ever left the HSBC building. So if you're ever looking for him, just go to Canary Wharf and he'll be there somewhere. But he's actually one of the youngest managing directors at HSBC. He's a global head in 4 business areas, and his responsibilities lies in 64 countries around the world. So I think it's a bit more responsibility than Lord Ram had, but it's an amazing achievement. So joining today's Katha is Ananja Suta, Jayraj, Dylan, Aman and Vignesh. And there's going to be live performances through this as well. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause for Sri Raman and the group.
Hare Krishna. So dear devotees, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending time today to conclude the 869,000-year anniversary of the appearance of Lord Shri Ramachandra Bhagwan ki Jai. Such a long and aged festival celebrated throughout the entire universe. And it's so nice to have my friends, family, devotees, colleagues and peers to be here. It's so encouraging. And I'm so grateful to all of you to conclude such a lovely festival in discussing the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. Some of you may remember that in October and November, we discussed and presented the Ramayana on behalf of Sita. And we called this 2-session Katha Sitayana. So we've discussed so much of Sita Devi. Today, we're going to try to focus on the personality of Lord Shri Ram. As so many of you know, Ramayana is very popular. There were TV serials, there were dramas, there were lectures happening for so many years throughout the entire planet. Today's narration of Ramayana is going to be a little bit different. The Adi Kavi, all of you know, is Valmiki. Maharishi Valmiki, he composed the Ramayana in 24,000 verses. Now when Maharishi Valmiki compiled the Ramayana, so many celestials, so many devatas, they got to see the serial live, in real time. And one of the individuals who very deeply saw the pastimes of Lord Shiva face to face is none other than Bhagwan Shri Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is one of the authorities on the Ramayana episode. Sometimes we find, in fact most times we find, that discussions of religious natures are done in the temple or in some gathering, for example in the forest of the Maisharanya, in speaking the Bhagavatam and the remaining 17 Puranas. But Lord Shiva, he spoke his version of the Ramayana. You're never going to believe where he spoke this. Lord Shiva and Parvati, their family, their grihastas, husband and wife. In the same way that most of us have our prime conversations at the dinner table, you will not believe, once upon a time, Ekada, once upon a time, when Lord Shiva and Parvati had assembled for the evening dinner. That is when Lord Shiva spoke his Ramayana. And over this evening dinner, Lord Shiva presented a version of the Ramayana that I believe all of you will find very interesting to hear. The background of the story. Tamaha Parvati Devi Japtva Nam Sahasrakam. Parvati said to Lord Shiva, before we have our bhojan, and by the way, this particular dinner was made by Lord Shiva, not just his wife this time. So Parvati said to Lord Shiva, before we honor this Mahaprasad, please give me some minutes. I'm going to be reciting the Vishnu Sahasranam as part of my prayers before I begin my evening dinner prasad. Now, Lord Shiva was thinking the Vishnu Sahasranam takes about 30 minutes to recite. By then the prasad will get cold. So Lord Shiva, he explained to Parvati that I have a shortcut. I have a shortcut by which you can recite 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu before you begin your prasad. And Lord Shiva, he mentioned, Ishvara Uvacha, Shri Rama Rama Rameti, Rame Rame Manorame, Sahasra Nama Tattulyam, Rama Nama Varayanane. This is a very important verse. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, so I would like to request all of you to recite this to me. Okay? Let's all recite together. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. Ishvara Uvacha, Shri Rama Rama Rameti, Rame Rame Manorame, Sahasranama Tattulyam, Rama Nama Varayanane. Lord Shiva said to Parvati, O beautiful faced Parvati, simply by reciting the name of Ram 3 times, it's equivalent to reciting 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. So just say the name of Ram and we'll begin our prasad. So Parvati, she agreed and she recited the name of Lord Ram 3 times. And then they began to have their prasad. After prasad, Parvati revealed her mind. She said to Lord Shiva, I have a confusion. I have a doubt to confess. I have read the Ramayana by Valmiki. And I have seen that majority of the time, Lord Ram, he acted like a mere mortal, a mere human being. Some people think he's God. To me, I believe he was just a king, trying to make ends meet and deal with the challenges of his personal life. Lord Shiva, he smiled. And he said to Parvati, Shrinu Devi Pravakshami, Ghuyat Ghuyataram Mahat, Adhyatma Ramacharitam, Ramenoktam Pura Mama. Lord Shiva said to Parvati, I have a solution for your dilemma, for your doubts, for your misunderstandings. Shrinu Devi Pravakshami. Listen to me, the answer, which is Ghuyat, Ghuyataram. It is the most confidential of secrets. Adhyatma Ramacharitam. There is a Ramayana called Adhyatma Ramayana. Adhyatma means spiritual. Adhyatma means metaphysical. Adhyatma Ramacharitam, Ramenoktam Puramama, which Lord Ram personally spoke to me. I had the same confusion. I had the same questions. And once in Ayodhya, Lord Ram spoke to me all of the internal, metaphysical, spiritual truths of the same Valmiki Ramayana Katha. I will now recite this to you. And thus, Lord Shiva, in 4,500 verses, repeated the Adhyatma Ramayana to Parvati. The same Ramayana that Lord Ram personally, Ramayana Pura, in many years ago, Ramayana Pura Mama, recited to me in Ayodhya. Maharishi Vedvyas, he included the Adhyatma Ramayana in the 65th chapter of the Brahmanda Puran, over 7 cantos. Today, because of time constraints, and most of you know the story of Ramayana, I've picked various leelas so we can get an alternative insight into the most beautiful personality of Lord Shri Ram. You will all know that Lord Ramchandra, as a child, was born on this day, and then he went to Mithila on the request of Maharishi Vishwamitra, and Sita Ram Kalyanam took place. He married Mama Sita. When he came back to Ayodhya, he was having a nice time with his brothers, his wife, his sister-in-laws and family. Whenever the Lord is having a nice time, you find in the Puranas, the Devatas get extremely worried. Because the Devatas are the celestials upon whose calling the Lord generally advents for a particular purpose. So Narad, he was sent by Lord Brahma to check in on Lord Shri Ram, to find out what's going on. Narad said to Lord Shri Ram, Ravanasya badarthaya jatosi raghusattamam idanim raja rakshartham pitatvam abhishikshati. Narad said to Lord Ram, I have been told by Lord Brahma that your father and Maharishi Vashishta, they are about to coronate you as Yuvraj. You become the next king of Ayodhya. If this happens, you'll become so busy in state affairs. Have you forgotten? Ravanasya vada arthaya. You have descended to end Ravan. You have descended to re-establish Dharma. You have descended to give your devotees an opportunity to increase their love towards you. You also vowed to do this before you appeared on this particular day. So Narad questioned Lord Ram. Do you know what's about to happen? If you become Yuvraj, Ravan will remain where he is in Lanka. There will be no Dharma Samstapana. You'll become so busy. Lord Ram, as always, he smiled and he said to Narad, Kintu kal anurodhena tat prarabdha samshayat harishye sarva bhubharam kramena asura mandalam. Lord Ram said, I have not forgotten my vow. My vow was to relieve the earth from its burden of illegal, sinful activities conducted by Ravan and his Rakshas Sena. He said, don't worry, Asura Mandalam, I will rid not only earth, but the entire universe full of Rakshasas. I will rid them all during my pastimes. Now when Lord Ram said this, Narad just remained silent, looking at his lotus face. Sometimes in these silences, it's very awkward moments. And this is when Lord Ram said, in this case, to relieve the doubt of Lord Brahma, of the Devatas, and of Narad, Ravanasya vinasharthum shva ganta dandakananam. I will begin my journey onwards to massacre Ravan tomorrow. And that's when Narad became satisfied. Lord Ram said, Shwa. Shwa in Sanskrit means tomorrow. He said, tomorrow I will go to Dandakaranya. I will go to the forest. And what I will do is I will here shitwa muni veshadrik. I will live as a muni, as an ascetic. And as a muni, I shall fulfill my vow. In this way, Narad Muni went back and conveyed the message to Lord Brahma that Lord Ramchandra, he's not going to be taking any Indian timing, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month. We'll see in the future. Lord Ram said, tomorrow he will begin to fulfill his oath by going to Dandak Aranya, the forest. Now the Adhyatma Ramayana now goes into a lot of detail how all of the devatas became complex. How are we going to assist Lord Ram to somehow be exiled in the forest? And that is when the Adhyatma Ramayana explains that the devatas approached Mava Saraswati and they said to her, you are the celestial Devi of Vani, of speech. Please enter onto the tongue of mantra. And by entering on the tongue of mantra, please bewilder the most dearest mother of Lord Sri Ram, who was Kaikeyi. Not Kaushalya, but Kaikeyi. And in this way, if you bewilder the most dearest mother of Lord Sri Ram, he would accept her view. Interestingly, they did not ask Sumitra or Kaushalya to be the madhyam or the facilitator, but Mother Kaikeyi. So Lord Shiva explains that many people may assume that Kaikeyi was just a typical stepmother. Mother Kaikeyi was commissioned to facilitate the exile because she was the most dearest mother to Lord Sri Ram. That I think is a new point for all of us to take away. That is why Kaikeyi was selected. It was not because of the boons. The boons was just an excuse. It was because Kaikeyi was the most dearest mother of Lord Sri Ramchandra, whose request he would never ever overlook. You all know the story, how boons were asked eventually, but the words which came out from Manthara and Kaikeyi were not their own words. It was Mother Saraswati appearing on their tongues to say words which they would never do so even in their dream, to send Lord Ram to exile for 14 years and make Bharat Yuvraj. These are thoughts and desires that neither Manthara or Kaikeyi could ever imagine. It was only possible when Mother Saraswati entered into their tongues by which they spoke these words. I'm going to now fast forward because so many of you have heard the class this morning and you're very familiar with the Ramayana on how Lord Ramchandra entered into Chitrakoot and from Chitrakoot travelled on his way eventually into the Dandak Aranya forest. Most of you are also very familiar with how Sita was abducted by Ravan. And we covered in so much detail about this Leela during October and November last year. So I would like to discuss a pastime which sometimes isn't so well understood because of the personalities involved. When Lord Ramchandra and Lakshman realized that Sita has gone missing, they walked through the dense forest of Dandakaranya. And while walking in this forest, they had no idea which direction they are going in. Which way is Sita? North, east, south, west. They kept on walking. And while they were walking, from a distance on a mountain called Rishyamukha, a mountain which is the headquarters of the rishis. A great rishi by the name of Maharishi Matanga. He was a bit like what Jatin was saying. He was the global head of Rishyamukha. And he was in charge of all the rishis staying in this mountain. In Rishyamukha, Sugriv, Hanuman were situated. Sugriv saw from a distance two very beautiful boys walking towards them. And he asked Hanuman, are these two people the ambassadors of Vali? Perhaps they've come looking to murder me. Because Vali was cursed. If he was to ever enter Rishyamukh mountain, his head was split into thousands of pieces, which is why Vali never came close to Rishyamukh mountain. The background story of this we'll discuss in a few moments. Sugriv asked Hanuman, you are intelligent. Please go and find out who are these two boys? What is their purpose? And number 3, where have they come from? Now Hanumanji, being so intelligent, he disguised himself as a young brahmachari, wearing saffron cloth. He already had a huge Urdhva Pundra tilak on his forehead. And he approached Ram and Lakshman. Now Hanuman did something which some of you may not be able to comprehend so well. Lord Hanuman, he began to speak in poetry. Now the reason why I said this is because in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, all we read is poetry. But the reality is, neither Lord Krishna, neither Shukdev, neither Parikshit, nobody spoke in poetry. Vyasadeva, he composed the words of the Lord in poetry, so that the verses can remain intact and we can also sing them, memorize them, because in poetry, every line has equal syllables. Hanuman, he spoke in poetry. It was a very rare thing to do. So please note this point, that Sanskrit is not a poetical language. It's a normal language, just like we speak Hindi, Gujarati, English, etc. Hanuman spoke in poetry. And when he started speaking, Lord Ram, he burst into laughter. Who speaks poetry? Lakshman also began to laugh. Hanuman was there in a serious mission, trying to find out who these boys are. Is Sugriva's life at risk? And Hanuman is just speaking to him in poetry. So Ram and Lakshman, this was the first time they met Hanuman. And all they did was laugh at him. And then Ram said to him, in Sanskrit, you're kind of cute. You speak in poetry. You've chosen very particular words to make it all fit. You're fantastic. And Hanuman was bewildered. These boys are definitely not here to kill Sugriva, because they smile too much. They laugh too much. And then Hanuman asked them, Ram Lakshman, who are you? Ram Lakshman said, first, who are you? You've come to me. We haven't come to you. We're just strolling around, hand in hand, in Dandakaranya. Then Hanuman, for the first time, took off his disguise and he came in his original form. And Lord Sri Ramchandra recognized Hanuman as Lord Shiva. And their relationship began from this day. Then Lakshman spoke. And Lakshman explained to Hanuman that they are out on an excursion trying to find Sita Devi. Then Hanuman said, there is only one person who can help you locate Sita. This person has an army of multiple billion soldiers. They will go out traveling the entire earth. Every single country, they will go and not leave any stone unturned. Come and meet Sugriv. Lord Ram said, fine. Where is he? Hanuman said, you see this mountain? Rishyamukh. Now this mountain was hundreds of miles up into the sky. Ram said, how are we going to get to the top of the mountain? Hanuman said, come on my shoulders. This was the first time that Ram and Lakshman sat on the shoulders of Hanuman. And Hanuman increased his akar, he increased the size of his body, and he leapt to the top of Rishyamukh mountain. This point is very significant because later on during Dasera, when Lord Ram was standing in Lanka barefoot and Ravan was on his celestial chariot, Hanuman saw this is unequal. And then he said to Lord Ram, in the same way you sat on my shoulder, was it comfortable? Was it good? Now Lord Ram, he wanted a comfortable seat. So Hanuman, he had big biceps, big shoulders, and Lord Ram comfortably sat in between his shoulder blade and the neck. And during that battle, that is when Hanumanji said, come on my shoulder and be on an equal footing to Ravan. Ravan's chariot never touched the ground. He was fighting from the sky. So Hanuman, he took Ram on his shoulders and fought Ravan while in the sky. At that time, the entire Ram Sena and the entire Ravan Sena, they all stopped fighting. They were looking up into the sky to see the duel between Ram and Ravan. When Hanuman took Lakshman and Lord Ram to meet Sugriva, Sugriva was doubtful. And Hanuman, he said to Sugriva that immediately I am suggesting to you to enter into a relationship of Sakhya Bhav. Become the friend of Lord Sri Ram. In fact, light a fire, hold hands, and pledge to be his eternal friend. Lord Shiva explains to Parvati, the quality of Hanuman is that whoever he met, he encouraged them and facilitated them to enter into a personal relationship with God. Sugriv did not even know the name of Ram. Yet Hanuman encouraged him to establish a relationship now, immediately. We have the same facility, the same opportunity every time we go to see Lord Sri Ram at Bhaktivedanta Manor, to reawaken, re-establish and re-strengthen our personal connection with Lord Sri Ram. At that point, Sugriva asked Lord Ram, what is your purpose of being here in Dandakaranya? And Lakshman then explained the backstory. Now at that time, Sugriva in fact made a vow. He said to Lord Ram that I promise to you that I will recover Sita for you. But I need to make sure this is the right Sita. And he said to Ram, a few days ago, when me and Hanuman were sitting here on the top of Rishyamukh mountain, we saw the Pushpak Viman of Kuber. It was in the sky going past us. Now, unfortunately, in the Pushpak Viman, Ravan had a female beside him. And this female, she was shouting out to the top of her voice, Ram, Ram, Hey Ram. And she saw us looking at her. Hanuman, he was about to jump from the top of Rishabuk mountain and kill Ravan. But Hanuman knew that Sita was calling out to Lord Shri Ram. Therefore, who am I to come in between the devotee and the Lord? Therefore, Hanuman stayed watching. As Hanuman fixed his gaze upon Mother Sita, she took off her top cloth, her chunni, her orni. She took it off and she removed her earrings, her bracelets and her nupura, her toe rings. And she tied them up into a bundle and she threw it to Hanuman. Hanuman collected the bundle and gave it to Sugriva. Sugriva said, please look at this bundle and tell me whether this is the ornaments of Mama Sita. Lord Shri Ram, Lord Shiva explains, Vimuchya Ramas Tadrishtva. When Lord Shri Ram, the moment he began to untie the bundle, Vimuchya. Vimuchya means he fainted. Lord Shri Ram, he fainted the moment he started to untie the orani of Mother Sita. And he saw in the bundle some items which he recognized. Vimuchya Ramas Tad Drishtva. Drishtva means having seen. The word Tva in Sanskrit means having. Having seen the ornaments, you will not believe what happened. Hasiteti, 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 muhur muhuhu. Lord Ram repeatedly, Hasita, Hasita, Hasita. He began to call the name of Sita. And then Hridi, Hridaya, Hridayam means heart. Lord Shiva explains, Hridi nikshipya tat sarvam. All of the ornaments that he was holding in his hands while calling out to Sita, he placed in front of his heart. Now, the question is, why did Lord Shri Ram place the ornaments of Sita in front of his heart? All of us, we have seen Krishna so many times. Have you ever asked the question? Have you ever wondered, every time you see Krishna at Bhaktivedanta Manor, have you ever wondered, why does Krishna keep his left arm across his heart? Why? Why does Lord Shri Krishna keep his left arm across his heart? Why not the other way? The Goswamis explain, Shri Radha Rani, she is not like a Devi. She is not like Durga. She is not like Lakshmi. She is not like Saraswati. One reason why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas, one reason why they honored Shri Radharani as the most confidential and the most intimate part of Lord Shri Krishna was by respecting and not calling her name. It's a very important point to mention. Many people, they call Shri Radharani just like she's another Devi. She's not. She and Krishna can never be separated. She is the heart of Lord Shri Krishna. She has nothing other than Lord Shri Krishna. She's not interested in anybody or anything. She is the Hiladini. She is, for example, the breath of Lord Krishna. She is the blood of Lord Krishna. She is the consciousness of Lord Krishna. This is why Gaudiya Vaishnavas and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they respect Shri Radharani. And they never come in between the most intimate connection between Lord Shri Krishna and his personal form of bliss and consciousness. Shri Radharani has a very, very unique place that is very difficult to understand because we perceive of her like an independent celestial or some form of Devi. She's only Lord Krishna's. She has nothing to do with anybody apart from Lord Shri Krishna. That is why we call her in the form of the word Hare. And every time we speak about Shri Radharani, we have to be very careful because she is only Lord Shri Krishna's. She's very dear, she's very deep, she's part of him. That is why you have to be very careful when you speak or talk about Shri Radharani because she is not like a normal person. This is why Lord Shri Krishna does two things. Firstly, he keeps Shri Radharani into his heart. And secondly, for no one else to take. That is why his arm is above his heart and he's playing his flute this way. Lord Shri Ram done the exact same thing. As he placed the ornaments to his heart, being non-different than Mother Sita, Ururoda Prakrita Yatha. Prakrita. Just like you may think an ordinary man, Ururoda, profusely cries. He sheds tears again and again and again. Yatha. In the same way, Lord Shri Ram, as he held the ornaments to his heart, he began profusely, uncontrollably crying. His entire body became wet and soaked. He bathed his own body in the tears while reciting, everybody please together, Ha Site, Ha Site, Ha Site, Vimuchya, and he fell to the floor. Now, Lord Shri Ram, when he became unconscious, holding the ornaments to his heart, falling on the floor crying, he still wasn't sure whether these are the ornaments of Sita. He was hoping perhaps it's similar to her ornaments and it reminded me of her. So he wanted a confirmation that these are not the ornaments of Sita. Sita is somewhere else. Perhaps she's gone for a walk. We used to play hide and seek in the palace of Ayodhya because it's huge. Ayodhya palace is huge. Perhaps she's playing hide and seek. So he said to Lakshman, please take a look at these ornaments. Hopefully, you don't recognize them. And Lord Ram, his dream came true, but only for a little while. Lakshman said, Naham janami kayure. Naham janami kundale, naham janami. You're correct. These earrings and these bracelets, they're not Sita's. Naham janami. I don't recognize them. They can't be Sita's. Lord Ram finally smiled. He was happy to hear these ornaments are not Sita's. But what happened next? Little while later, Lakshman said, Nupure abhijanami nityam charanabhivandanat. Lakshman said, but Ram, the reason why I don't recognize the earrings and the bracelets is because my eyes never ever once went above the feet of Sita. And guess what? Nupure abhijanami. I recognize the toe rings because my eyes never ever left the feet of Sita. And he confirmed to Ram that the earrings and the bracelets must be Sita's because I recognize the toe rings. Lakshman never ever saw the face of Sita. He never ever saw her body, even above the ankles. And then Lord Ram, in Gujarati they say, patti gyo. He was finished. And that is when Vali took an oath to find Sita. Then Lord Ram, he said to Vali that, by the way, what are you doing here? Why are you here in Rishamukh Parvat? And that is when Sugriva explained his background story. Sugriva mentioned something very similar happened to me. Someone stole my wife. What a coincidence. Somebody stole Ram's wife, and now somebody stole Sugriv's wife. It was the best partnership you could ever imagine. Lord Ram was very eager to understand from Sugriv what is his story. Sugriv then mentioned that once upon a time there was a Asura, a demon. His name is Mayavi. Mayavi had come at night time to Kishkinda. And when he came to Kishkinda, he shouted out and called Vali and challenged him for a duel. Vali immediately punched Mayavi Asur. And Mayavi Asur began to run. Vali chased Mayavi into a cave. And Vali said to Sugriva, stand outside the cave while I go and slain this Asura who has come at the dark time of the night, midnight, to come and disrupt Kishkinda. Sugriv waited. One day went past, 1 week went past, 4 weeks went past. After 1 month had passed, Sugriv saw blood oozing out of the cave of this Mayavi Asur. When he saw the blood coming out, Sugriva, in his heart, his spontaneous thoughts were that Mayavi Asur has murdered Vali. So he covered the cave with a stone. Sugriv then went back to Kishkinda and he proclaimed himself as the king of Kishkinda. Vali's son Angad, his wife Tara, nobody accepted Sugriva as the next king. They felt, how can Vali be destroyed by an Asur? Do you know, once upon a time, when Ravan was walking around India, Vali picked him up like a small mosquito. And when he picked up Ravan, he had 10 heads. And he was shouting and screaming. And to keep him silent, Vali picked up Ravan, put him in his armpit and squashed him. That is how you keep someone silent. That's what he done to Ravan. How can Vali be killed by Mahavi Asur? Sugriva said, I saw his blood. It's pouring out of the cave. Sugriva became king, but only for a few days. Vali came roaring out of the cave to Kishkinda. And as soon as he saw Sugriva, he began abusing him. And then he punched Sugriva on the chest, repeatedly, saying, Sugriva, I am going to kill you. Sugriva then ran for his life to Rishyamukha Parvat, because Vali was cursed not to enter Rishyamukha Parvat. Now, Sugriv said to Lord Ram, while I was exiled to Rishyamukha Parvat, my brother Vali, he took my wife Ruma. In the same way, somebody stole Sita. That was the perfect line to make Lord Shri Ram very angry. Lord Shri Ram then vowed, I will kill Vali. Hanishyami, I will murder Vali. Anyone who steals somebody's wife, in the same way that I am full of distress, why should others also feel the same distress? Therefore, I vow to you, I will murder Vali. Sugriv said to Lord Ram, it's not going to happen. Do you know who this Vali is? Let me show you something. Sugriv took Lord Ram down the mountain, and he said to Lord Ram, you see that mountain over there? That mountain is actually a demon. Many months ago, Dundubi, the demon, had come. And while he was fighting and challenging Vali, Vali simply placed his foot on the chest of Dundubi. Now, sorry for the description, but Lord Shiva explains to Parvati that Vali took the head of Dundubi, twisted it, and threw it with his two hands. And the head of Dundubi landed 8 miles at a distance. That mountain is actually the head of Dundubi. Sugriv said to Ram, if you can move the mountain even a little bit, I'll have some faith that you can match Vali. Lord Shri Ram, it's hilarious. Lord Shri Ram, he walked up to the head of Dundubi, size of a mountain. And then Sugriva saw that Lord Shri Ram, he came face to face with the mountain. Only this much gap. This much gap. Lord Shiva then explains that simply Padang Astena Chakshipat. Lord Ram, he placed his right toe underneath the mountain and simply kicked or flicked his right toe under Mount Dundubi, and it flew hundreds and hundreds of miles into the air. Madhvacharya in the Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya mentions this mountain flew outside of the ozone layer. It flew outside of Earth, and it landed on one of the hellish planets called Rasatal, where a bunch of demons had just finished worshipping Lord Shiva, and they gained the benediction of being invincible, and they were about to join the Ravan Sena. Can you imagine invincible asuras born in Rasatal were going to come to earth and join Ravan's army. Lord Ram, when he kicked the Mount Dundavi, it fell outside of earth and it completely landed on top of the entire community of the asuras that had just been benedicted by Lord Shiva to be invincible. That was good. Sugriv was shocked. But then he said, one more test. You see, sporadically, there are 7 palm trees. Vali would go to these palm trees and shake them, and most of the leaves will fall down. Sugriva said, I have a very simple task for you. Because you see, Vali was very big. Ram was just comparably small. So he can't really put his hands around the palm trees to shake them. So Sugriv said, Yadi tvam eka banena vidva chidram karoshichet. If you can yadi ek banena, with one arrow, if you can pierce all 7 palm trees which are situated sporadically, then Vali says, Hatas tvaya tada Vali vishvaso me prajayate. Vishwas. Then I will have the conviction that you can you can slay Vali. Now Ram said to Sugriv, and this is the part which Valmiki does not mention in the Ramayana. Lord Shiva tells Parvati, Ram said to Sugriv, do you know, these 7 palm trees are actually 7 Daityas. Daityas are another form of Rakshas. These 7 Daityas in the form of palm trees are actually engaged in tapasya to Lord Brahma. Om Brahmane Namaha. And while in tapasya to Lord Brahma, they are begging Lord Brahma to become the next Brahma. If the Daityas become the next Brahma, the entire creation will be full of sinful activities. Therefore, Lord Shri Ram, he stretched one arrow to his right ear, and as he let go of the arrow entered into the first palm tree, and what happened? The first palm tree, Lord Shiva explains to Parvati, it actually exploded. And then the second palm tree, the third palm tree, 5th, 6th, 7th. In this way, Lord Shri Ramchandra protected the entire creation in the future from being ruled underneath the Daitya Raj. And in this way, Lord Shri Ramchandra convinced Sugriv, not only can I defeat Vali, but I can kick a mountain which lands on the nether regions to destroy the Asuras who have just been benedicted by Lord Shiva to be invincible. And I can also slay the 7 Daityas who are praying to be Lord Shri Brahma. In this way, Lord Shri Ramchandra showed incredible strength that nobody ever, na bhuto, na bhavishyati, have ever demonstrated as the Supreme Personality of Godhead on planet Earth. Jai Shri Ramachandra Bhagwan ki!
Jai Shri Ram, Jai Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram. अद्भुत है महिमा दो अक्षर की राम की.
अद्भुत है महिमा दो अक्षर के राम की.
अद्भुत है महिमा दो अक्षर की राम की. सुनो राम कथा, जय बोलो श्री राम की.
सुन राम कथा और जय बोलो श्री राम की।
सुनो राम कथा और जय बोलो श्री राम की।
सुन राम कथा और जय बोलो श्री राम।
राम कथा सभी विधि सुखदाई, शीतल गंगा अविरल बहती आई। इस गंगा की दोनों तीर, एक सीता दूजे रघुवीर। धर्म मूर्ति आदर्श स्वरूपा, सीतापति त्रिभुवन के भूपा। राम स्वयं भी महिमा कह ना सकी निज नाम की।
राम स्वयं भी महिमा कह न सके की नाम की।
राम स्वयं भी महिमा कह न सकी निज नाम की।
राम स्वयं भी महिमा कह न सके निज नाम के।
सुनो राम कथा और जय बोलो श्री राम की।
सुन राम कथा और जय बोलो श्री राम की।
सुनो राम कथा और जय बोलो श्री राम की।
सुन राम कथा और जय बोलो श्री राम की।
भक्ति भाव की ऐसी धारा, जो डूबे वो उतरे पारा। कलयुग केवल नाम आधारा, हरि सुमिरन हरि कीर्तन सारा। राम नाम में है बसा सभी वेदों का सार। राम अनादि राम अनंत, पुरुषोत्तम भगवान। मंगल भवन अमंगल हारी, द्रवहु सुदशरथ अजिर बिहारी। है सुफलदायिनी रामायण सुख धाम की।
हे सुफलदायिनी रामायण सुखदाम की।
है सुफलदायिनी रामायण सुख धाम की।
हे सुफलदायिनी रामायण सुखदाम की।
सुनो राम कथा और जय बोलो श्री राम की।
सुन राम कथा और जय बोलो श्री राम की।
सुनो राम कथा और जय बोलो श्री राम की।
सुनो राम कथा और जय बोलो श्री राम।
श्री राम जय जय राम, श्री राम जय जय राम, श्री राम जय जय राम।
राम जय जय राम, श्री राम जय जय राम, श्री राम जय जय राम।
Bhagavan ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So beautiful. Thank you so much. So Sugriv, very happy, so delighted to have seen that my new friend Ram is a match for Vali. He couldn't believe that anybody could ever come close to being able to challenge Vali. Now, Sugriv was so excited to have someone like Ram on his side that he immediately ran off Rishyamukha Parvat and he entered Kishkinda and he began to roar like a lion, challenging Vali. Vali, it says, his left eye just lit up. He raised his eyebrow and he said, "Why is Sugriv challenging me?" Now Vali, some of you may not know, but Vali is a very dear devotee of Lord Sri Ram. And in a few moments, you're going to hear who Vali came back as in the Mahabharata. Have a guess in a few moments. And you'll understand how dear Vali is to Lord Sri Ram. Vali was thinking that the only way Sugriva has the audacity to challenge me is if he has some backup. He has someone behind him. Let me go and see. Vali left his palace and immediately Sugriva began to throw blows on Vali. Vali couldn't feel a thing. And at this point, Lord Sri Ram, he noticed that Sugriv and Vali were actually more or less like twins. He wasn't able to see the difference between Sugriv and Vali. All of you know that Sugriv got a well-deserved beating from his older brother. And Sugriv then ran away from Vali and came to Lord Ram. And he said to Lord Ram, "I went out of faith in you that you will protect me. You will be there for me when I extend myself to try to establish Dharma in the same way that you have arrived in Dandakaranya for the very same purpose. Why did you not help me?" Lord Ram, in his mind, he was thinking, Lord Shiva explains this to Parvati. He was thinking, this is just a misunderstanding between two brothers. Between brothers, misunderstandings should only last for a few days. Perhaps they'll kiss and make up. Okay. Or they'll hug and make up. I have brothers, Bharat, Shatrughna. We have some misunderstandings sometimes, but we then love each other. So perhaps Vali and Sugriv will come back together. This is another internal reason why Lord Sri Ram just stood watching match number 1 between Sugriva and Vali. The second reason, which is very important to note, why did Ram not face Vali in match number 1? Lord Ram was thinking, as my devotee, if I come in front of Vali, he will fall onto the floor and surrender himself. Madhva Acharya explains this in the Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnay, his commentary. Reason number 2 is why Lord Ram did not come face to face with Vali. And then the third reason, now Lord Ram obviously is very intelligent. He worked out, this is a very important point for you to note, because when you find out who Sugriva appeared in the Mahabharata, it will all make sense. Things are not as they appear to be always. There are tendencies that roll over life after life after life. Perhaps that is what Srila Prabhupada mentions as souls being very unique. There are tendencies that are dormant and forever remain in individuals. You will hear about this in a few moments. Lord Ram realized that actually Vali didn't really do anything wrong. Sugriva has said to Ram that Vali kidnapped my wife Ruma in the same way that Ravan kidnapped Sita. But Lord Ram realized this is not true. Vali looked after Ruma. Vali did not kidnap Ruma. So, in the heart of Lord Shri Ram, he felt that Vali hasn't actually made a mistake. It is just a brother's tiff. That's it. These are the three reasons Acharya Madhva explains why Lord Ram did not face Vali during match number 1. These are the beauties of the Adhyatma Ramayana for us to understand what was going on in the mind of Lord Shri Ram. Now, Ram said, "What do you want me to do?" And Vali then spoke those direct words. Vali said, "As your devotee, I'm requesting you to end Vali." And Lord Ram, he decided to fulfill the request of his devotee. This time, Lord Ram asked Lakshman, you know the story, make a garland, place it over the neck of Sugriv, so I can recognize who is who. Go back and challenge Vali. Second time, warring, hitting his chest, calling upon Vali for combat. Now, Vali's wife, Tara, she was also a pure devotee of Lord Shri Ram. And she said to Vali, "I have heard what happened to your Lord Shri Ram. It must be him. He must be the person behind Sugriv. Why would he come twice?" When Vali heard that Lord Ram has come to liberate him, Vali became ecstatically so blissful. And he said, "Tara, in that case, let me go and see Lord Shri Ram. This is the object of my meditation for tens and thousands of years." Vali very happily went to combat Sugriv with this meditation. Sugriv saw that Vali was distracted. Vali was receiving blows from Sugriv, couldn't feel a thing, but he was looking for Lord Ram. Where is Ram? Where is the object of my meditation? Couldn't find him. And while Vali was eagerly looking for Lord Ram, where is Ram? Tara never gets these points wrong. It has to be true. He has to be here. And then from behind a tree stump, an arrow was fired. And the arrow came towards Vali and entered into his vitals. It entered into the chest of Vali. Vali immediately was thrown onto the ground. And within seconds, Lord Shri Ram, in his divine form, stood over the body of Vali. Now Vali and Lord Shri Ram, they had a samvad. This conversation is very beautiful. It's so extensive. I'll only touch upon a few points. First of all, Vali said to Lord Ram, "Why did you shoot an arrow like a thief, hiding behind the tree stump? How can you claim to be following the Kshatriya code of warfare? Number 3, how can you be a king acting so immorally? If you had simply called me, I would have come and stood in front of you to receive your mercy." Lord Sri Ram, knowing the heart of his devotee, he answered each question very carefully. Firstly, Lord Sri Ram mentioned, "I hid behind the stump because we are not equals. I am Manushya. You are Vanar. According to the laws of combat, a Manushya cannot engage in a duel with a Vanar. A Manushya has to follow the prescribed rules for hunting when faced with a Vanar or any other Pashu, animal. And according to the codes of engaging with Vanaras, you have to fight as if you're hunting. That is why I hid behind the tree stump. I hunted you. So I have not broken any rules, any regulations." Then Lord Ram went on to explain, "Why are you criticizing me? Why are you saying that I am not following the codes of conduct?" And then Lord Vali then mentioned a very important point, which I think for most of you will probably be the first time you're hearing this. Vali said, "The person who you are protecting, the person on whose side you have now aligned with, he kidnapped my wife. Sugriva had kidnapped Tara 30,000 years ago. And guess what? The king of Ayodhya did nothing. I know you people in Ayodhya, very self-centered, don't really understand dharma. You've come on the side of somebody who has done exactly what Ravan did. Can you see the dichotomy? Then Lord Ram said, during that time, when Sugriva kidnapped Tara, you know these brothers, they always have tiffs going on, okay? So we don't have time for the detail. During that time, when Sugriva had kidnapped Tara, the wife of Vali, the king of Ayodhya was Maharaj Dashrath. And he's no longer here to defend himself. So whether Dashrath Maharaj carried out his duty towards you or not, I can say for sure, you had perhaps not escalated the concern because of your own embarrassment to have lost your wife to my father Maharaj Dashrath. Otherwise he would have sent Sugriva long ago to Padlok. So don't criticize me. Today, you have taken away everything from Sugriva. And Sugriva has requested me to liberate you. And that is when Vali said, my dear Lord, I know your plan. Ram said, before you continue, this is a very important point to note for anyone who has any further confusions. Lord Ram said, before you continue, take back your life. He said this. Stand on your feet. I bless you to be rid of these bruises and the fact that my arrow has penetrated your heart. You'll be relieved from the onslaught of death. Stand, rise Vali, come back alive. So Lord Ram had given Vali his life back. But Vali said, no. I would like to pass away in your presence. But I have two requests. My first request is, my son Angad, please look after him. And my second request is, my wife Tara, please engage her in your service. And in this way, Vali said to Lord Sri Ram, you want to heal my wounds? The very hands that you used to shoot the arrow into my heart, I have read and I have studied that your hands are red like lotus petals. Lotuses are very cooling because of where they originate from. Place your right hand upon my heart where the arrow has entered, and while soothing my heart, while rubbing my heart, let me take my last breath. And this is how Vali was liberated. Now Vali, Madhvacharya explains, any devotee of Lord Sri Ram who performed minimal services, they came back during Dwapar Yuga to carry out huge services, and vice versa. So Vali, any guesses from anybody? He came back as Dhananjaya, Parth, Falgun, Konteya, Sabyasachi. Who did he come back as? Arjun. Vali came back as Arjun. Now you can understand how deep Vali's devotion was to Lord Sri Ram. And Sugriv, who by hook and by crook got his way by partial information, little bit of misinformation, a bit of personal desire. Can anyone guess who Sugriv came back as? You might not be happy about this. Absolutely. Sugriv came back as Karna. Now I'll let you decide what tendencies of Sugriv were magnified as Karna and what tendencies of Vali were magnified as Arjun. Perhaps a Mahabharata Katha in the future. So then, Lord Sri Ram, he coronated Sugriv as the king of Kishkinda. He made Angad the Yuvraj. And then Lord Sri Ram said to Sugriv, as the king of Kishkinda, I am now going to let you decide how you send a search party to find my Sita. The 4 months of Chaturmasya are about to begin, the rainy season. I will stay here on the Mount Pravarshana for 4 months. And after this time, I request you to begin looking for Mother Sita. Sugriva then left, entered his palace, the city. Lord Sri Ram and Lakshman went to the mountain called Pravarshana, where they spent 4 months. Now Mother Parvati, she asked Lord Shiva, how did Ram spend his 4 months idle, doing nothing? The person who Vimuchya, who became unconscious, Rurodha, who became so upset that he was profusely crying. How did he manage to sit idle for 4 months? Lord Shiva says to Mother Parvati, Ram slept every night calling out to Sita. In fact, Lord Shiva says to Parvati, Ram would say, Ha Siteti Vadanneva Nidram Lebhe Katanchana. Lord Ram had sleepless nights. Not one night in 4 months did he sleep. All he would do day and night is call out to Sita. Sita, Sita. Lord Ram, sometimes he would speak aloud to Lakshman. I want to share with you 2 verses that Lord Ram would share to Lakshman during the 4 months. He mentions to Lakshman, "Oh Lakshmana, my Sita has been kidnapped by a Rakshasa, and I have not yet been able to determine whether Sita is dead or alive. Lakshman, if anybody gives me news on the survival of Sita, they will be doing me a great service which I shall appreciate so much." And then other days, Lord Ram would enter into a very beautiful meditation, which I would like all of you to enter over the next 2-3 minutes. Let us enter the mind of Lord Shri Ram. Some people say there's no God. Some people say God lives in my heart. Other people say God can be found in the temple. We are so fortunate that we can actually access the Supreme Godhead, and we can also enter into His mind. The mind of Lord Shri Ram. Please be very receptive. Lord Shri Ram would say to Lakshmana, "Ha Site Chandrabadane Vasanti Rakshasalaya." O Sita of moon-like face, I can only imagine how you must be sustaining life without me. Vasanti Rakshasalaya, sitting in the home of some Rakshasa. Then Lord Ramchandra, he looked and he turned his face to the moon. Having described the face of Sita, Chandrabadane, like the moon, he looked at the moon. And while looking at the moon, Lord Shri Ramchandra said the following words. He said, "Chandratvam Janakim Srishtva Karaira Mam Sprisha Sheetalai." He said, "Separated from my moon-faced wife, this moon appears to be like the hot rays of the sun. This moon is meant to be cooling, but this moon is burning me." Many people say, it pains my ears. Sorry, I wasn't meant to say that. Okay. Many people say that Lord Ram acted like a human, separated from his wife. Don't say such things. Lord Ram was experiencing separation from his internal energy, in the same way that Lord Shri Krishna and Shri Radharani faced separation. The details you can hear in the Sitayana Katha, how Brigu cursed Lord Vishnu to be separated from Sita. You can hear it there. Lord Shri Ram said, "This moon is scorching me like the rays of the sun." And then he said, "O moon, go and touch my body after you have cooled your rays by touching Sita wherever she is." This is how Lord Ram's mind was. And then, in the depth of separation between Ram and Sita. You see, in the Vedic culture, love and separation, anxiety and anger, there's a very thin line in between them. Very thin line. When it comes to the Lord, while Lord Shri Ram was speaking like this to the moon. Touch me after you have cooled the body of Sita, wherever she is. Then your rays, Sprish, should then come and touch me. Lord Sri Ram, he became angry. He realized that the moon that I am talking about, it marks the end of 4 months. Purnima, Purna. When the month becomes complete, Purna is the month of the full moon. Why is the full moon out? Where are the Vanaras? Why are they not searching after Sita? Ram became uncontrollably angry. And then please listen to what Ram said. After going through what he went through with Vali, after meditating upon Sita, after seeing the moon is out and realizing that 4 months had gone by, Lord Ram then said to Lakshman, he said that this Sugriva, he is Dayahina. He has no compassion. He has no love. He has no care towards me. And then he said to Lakshman, this Sugriva is Kritagna. He is absolutely, completely ungrateful. Spring has arrived and nothing has started to search for Sita. And then Lord Ram said, Purva Pakarinam Dushtaha. This Sugriv, he is a wretch. He is a Dushta. Purva Upakarina. He has forgotten everything that I have done for him. Vismrito Himam. He's forgotten about me. He's forgotten about Sita. He's forgotten about Lakshmana. He's enjoying his kingdom with his wives and his family, forgetting about the vow that he gave to me. And that is when Lord Sri Ram said, Yatha Vali Yatha Hato Medya. Vali Yatha Hato Medya. In the same way that I killed Vali, Sugrivopi Tatha Bhaved, I will now go and kill Sugriv and his entire family and community. This is what Lord Ram said about Sugriv. So I hope from this small episode of the Adhyatma Ramayana, you have clarified misunderstandings about Vali and Sugriv. Things don't appear always as you read and see. Lord Shiva, on the other hand, gives us this insight. The very same frustration that Lord Ram had towards Sugriva continued in Dwapar Yuga between Krishna and Karna. Perhaps for a future Katha. And then he said to Lakshman, before I end the life of Sugriv and his entire community, go and have a word with him. Go and remind Sugriv about his promise to me. Now, Lakshman, he was the wrong person to send. Lakshman was specifically told by Lord Sri Ram, just frighten him. Don't do more than that. Lakshman said, of course. Lakshman entered Kishkinda and he stamped his foot and he made the entire palace of Kishkinda shake. And then he got his bow and he twanged the bow and explosive sounds echoed into every home and every ear of the billions of Vanaras in Kishkinda. And then Lakshman began roaring, Sugriv, where are you? Sugriv, where are you? Sugriv, who at this time was on the floor panicking. He was lying on his bed, probably having his bananas. I was about to say grapes, but I think for bananas are, prasiddh. They like these. He was on the floor and he said to Hanuman, Angad, save me. Please go and pacify Lakshman. Hanuman, you did this before. Go back. And then he sent Tara. He said, you also go. He sent his sister-in-law. All of you go to pacify Lakshman. They went and Lakshman wouldn't hear a thing. He said, where is Sugriv? And then he said to Hanuman, Angad and Tara, listen to me very carefully. Ram, he's very angry. He's very upset. For what he did for you, this is how you repay him. The full moon has gone. 4 months have passed. You should have been proactive in your service. Why be lazy? Why be late? The good news is, Ram is not here. The other good news is, the arrow that Ram had used to kill Vali is in his tunir, in his quiver. And the quiver is also with Ram far away. But guess what? I'm here and I'm going to kill you. This is what Lakshman said. And Sugriva immediately jumped to the floor. He put his head on the feet of Lakshman and he said, my dear Lord, forgive me. I am a grateful servant towards Lord Shri Ram. Now please note that Hanuman had only yesterday warned me about the full moon. And I immediately dispatched 10,000 Vanaras to go and find Sita. So please do not be worried. Take me to Lord Shri Ram. When Sugriv and Lakshman, Angad and Hanuman and Tara went to meet Lord Shri Ram, Lord Shiva explains to Mata Parvati that Lord Shri Ram, he was distracted. He did not see anyone enter into Pravarshana mountain. Why? Again, an insight. Lord Shiva explains that Lord Shri Ram, he was distracted looking at the birds and the squirrels in the cave while calling out to Sita. In this distraction, Sugriv went to Lord Ram and touched his feet. And that is when Lord Ram, he said to Sugriv, my dear brother, this is a very serious mission. We need to find Sita. Please go and find Sita. That is when Lord Ram looked at Hanuman and he said to Hanuman, Hanuman, I have understood the full extent of your abilities. And Lord Shri Ram, from his finger, he took out a ring. And on this ring, it was actually written Ra, A and Ma. His name was inscribed on his ring. And this ring was given to Lord Ram by Sita. So any men with no rings, without their names, now know what to ask their wife for a present, following in the parampara of Lord Shri Ram. So Ram actually had his name inscribed on his ring. That was the present of Sita to him. And he said to Hanuman, I think you will find Sita. Take this ring and show it to Sita when you see her. In this way, Lord Ram blessed Hanuman to now go and find Sita.
दशरथ अजर बिहारी राम सिया राम जय जय राम बोलिए
राम सिया राम जय
राम सिया राम जय जय राम
राम सिया राम जय जय राम
हो है वही जो राम रच राखो कोई तरफ करे बरसा खा राम सिया राम जय जय राम
राम सिया राम जय जय
राम सिया राम जय जय राम
राम सिया राम जय जय राम
हरि अनंत हरि कथा अनंत कहीं सुनहि बहु विधि सब शांत राम सिया राम जय जय राम
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 हे राम रघुपति राघव राजा राम पातित पावन सीताराम
रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम
रघुपति राघव राजा राम पातित पावन सीताराम
रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम
सीताराम सीताराम जय सीताराम
सीताराम सीताराम जय सीताराम
सीताराम जय सीताराम जय सीताराम
सीताराम जय सीताराम जय सीताराम
रघुपति राघव राजा राम पातित पावन सीताराम
रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम
मुख में तुलसी खान में राम जब बोलो तब सीताराम
मुख में तुलसी काट राम जब बोलो सीताराम
कौशल्या का भोला राम, दशरथ जी का प्यारा राम।
कौशल्या का भोला राम, दशरथ जी का
रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पातिता पावन सीताराम।
रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम।
रात को निंदिया दिन को काम, का भी बांगे राम का नाम। रात को निंदिया दिन को नाम, का भी बांगे करते रहिए अपने काम, लेते रहिए हरि का नाम। करते रहिए अपने काम, लेते रहिए हरि का नाम। हे रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पातिता पावन सीताराम।
रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम।
दशरथ नंदन राजा राम, ननकी दशरथ नंदन राजा राम, जानकी वल्लभ सीताराम।
दशरथ नंदन राजा राम, जानकी वल्लभ सीताराम।
हनुमान के स्वामी राजा राम, जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम।
हनुमान के स्वामी राजा राम, जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम।
हनुमान के स्वामी राजा राम, जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम।
हनुमान के स्वामी राजा राम, जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम।
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 जय जय राम जय जय राम।
जय जय राम।
जय जय राम 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 जय जय राम। जय जय राम जय जय राम। जय जय राम जय जय राम। श्री पातित पावन सीताराम।
हरि बोल, हरि बोल, Anjana Sutta Prabhu, what amazing, huh? Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. He's my personal Hanuman, Anjana Sutta. So beautiful. Thank you, Prabhuji, for leading always such ecstatic bhajans and kirtans. Thank you so much. Now, round of applause for Anjana Sutta Prabhu. Hari Bol. Everybody is fine? Enjoying? Okay. Okay, we've got a few more leelas, and it's a nice way, I think, when all of you go home. Look, there was many people here, but when you go home tonight, Lord Ram will come in your dreams. because now you are listening to his pastimes. It's a wonderful way to end any types of vrats, parents' days. In the evening to come and listen to the Lord's pastimes, his sacred names, and in this way sleep and conclude Rama Navami. It's a very beautiful way to end Rama Navami. So Hanuman left. Now, some of you would know that shortly, in a few days, it will be the appearance of Hanumanji. The Sundarkand is exceptionally very, very sweet. And if the opportunity arises, please listen to some individuals reciting Sundarkand during Hanuman's Jayanti. It's exceptionally beautiful. And the Sundarkand is called Sundar because in here you will hear about the wonderful, marvelous, exceptionally sweet pastimes of Hanumanji. It's one of the largest cantos in the Ramayana. We will have to jump it now, okay? Because Sundarkand, it's best to recite at that time. So Hanumanji came back to Lord Shri Ram, and when Ram saw Hanuman, the first thing that Hanuman did, he did not put his hands together, he did not offer his obeisances. The first word that Hanuman said to Ram was the only word Ram was interested in listening to. And that word was Drishta. The first, look how intelligent Hanuman is. Hanuman knew the word that Ram is waiting for. And he only first said that word. He said, I have seen. Drishta. First word. I have seen. Then it was a silence. And then he said, Sita Niramaya. I have seen Sita Niramaya. Free from diseases. Because after Ram, his heart was such that after finding out that Sita has been found, naturally he wanted to know about her welfare. So Hanuman, you can see how precise he is. He done everything perfectly. First he mentions, I have seen. In the middle, Sita. Last line, Niramaya. Diseaseless. Healthy. Ram's heart became very satisfied. Now, what Lord Ram did, you may think it's common. It's very uncommon. Ram then, he said to Hanuman that, what did Sita say? This is a very important point to also note. What did Sita say? Now you remember in the Sitayana Katha, last November and October, Sita's first question to Hanuman was, this is the same Ram that threw a grass at the son of Indra, Jayant, who had come as a crow, pecking on my chest. That grass became a Brahmastra and it chased Jayant around the entire universe. Find out from Ram, why has he not come to save me? If he could send a Brahmastra to a crow, why is Ram not coming to save me? Perhaps you've asked that question sometimes yourself. Hanuman did not know the answer. Sita paused. And then she realized her mistake. Sita realized why Lord Shri Ram did not come to save her. Any guesses? Sita said to Hanuman, say to Lakshman that Lakshmanam bruhi me kinchid duraktam bhashitam pura tat kshamaswagya tat kshamaswagya bhavena bhashitam kulanandana. Say to Lakshman, please forgive me for my offenses to you. Pura bhashitam. Many months ago, I criticized you. I questioned you. I spoke words that should not have been spoken. I offended Lakshman under the assumption that he is not following the cries of Marichi to save Ram, because Lakshman always wanted Sita. These were the words, you may remember. After Lakshman heard, he ran away. And he went towards Ram, who was standing over the body of Marich, the fake golden deer. Because Sita had offended Lakshmana, that is why Lord Sri Ram did not come to save Mother Sita. Lord Shiva explained you got to be very careful when dealing with devotees. Therefore she asked for forgiveness, and when Ram asked Hanuman, what did Sita say? His heart became calm. He became satisfied, because now Lord Sri Ram can go and rescue Sita, because the offense had been erased. Lakshman, of course, never took offense, but Sita had now formally declared this point and recognized this point and mitigated this point by asking for tat kshamasva, asking for forgiveness. Then Hanuman gave to Lord Ram the Churamani, the crest jewel, which was hidden in the hair of Sita as an insignia. And that is when Lord Sri Ram, he said to Lakshman that what you have done for me, nobody has ever done. All of the devatas are in the home of Ravan, doing his laundry, cooking his food, doing his ironing, cleaning the floors, the gardens, the parks. There's no one that could have found Sita. And he said to Hanuman, Upakaram na pashyami. Pashya means see. First person singular. Upakaram. I don't see any way in which I can reciprocate what you have done for me. This is what Ram said to Hanuman. Then he said to Hanuman, I have nothing that I can give you that can reciprocate the news that you have found Sita. Guess what Lord Ram gave to Hanuman to reciprocate his love for sending this message of Sita? Lord Ram said to Hanuman, everything that I have, I give to you. The Supreme Personality of Godhead owns everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. Krishna says, I own the material and the spiritual worlds and everything in between. Lord Ram gave everything to Hanuman. Even that was not enough. Then Lord Ram did something which he has never ever done before. Very, very tightly, Lord Shiva explains to Parvati, he grabbed Hanuman, he pushed him to his chest, and he got his arms, he secured his hands to each other, and he tightly embraced Hanuman, and he didn't let him go. And he kept Hanuman to his chest. And he said to Hanuman, no one has ever been embraced by me. He said to him that this embrace of mine is very rare. Understand that my devotees worship me with Tulsi, and here I am embracing you. And this is how Hanuman became the most dearest devotee of Lord Shri Ram. So please read about Hanuman on his Jayanti. We'll have to jump forward because that's a very beautiful episode in the Ramayana. Once Hanuman took everybody to the southern tip of Bharat, of India, Lord Ram became worried. He said to Sugriva and Hanuman, he said, how are we going to cross this ocean? This ocean, it's an ocean. How do we cross an ocean? We have over multiple billions of Vanaras with us. How are we all going to cross? Then Sugriv said, Chintam Tyaja Raghusreshta. O senior of the Raghus, Chintam Tyaja. Give up your chinta. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Sugriva says, Chinta Karya Vinashini. If you worry about things, it will destroy your hopes for a solution. So he said to Ram, don't worry. We will find a way. And then Lord Ram said something quite beautiful. He said, Idanim eva vijayo. Muhurata parivartate. The Muhurat, the auspicious time for Vijaya has just begun. And then he said, Ane shyami cha sitam me. Dakshinakshi swarat yadaha. My right eye is flickering and my body is pulsating. This is according to the Nimitta Shastra, this is an auspicious symbol, a sign of success. Therefore he said, with my right eye throbbing, this indicates good fortune. Therefore we have to find a way to cross the ocean. And that is when Lord Ram saw that the billions of Vanaras that are there, they just sat around him in a circle, holding their towels, someone holding their heads, someone holding their faces, not knowing what to do. And then Lord Shri Ram sat in meditation for 3 days and 3 nights, begging the ocean to help him. The ocean is actually the forefather of Lord Shri Ram. When Lord Shri Ram, ancestor Maharaj Sagar, when he was digging the earth, he gave rise to the ocean and he adopted Sagar, the ocean, as his son. So Lord Ram was begging his own forefather for help. As you know, the story goes, the ocean did nothing. That is when Lord Shri Ram, he then said those very fearful words. He said, Idhanim Bhasma, right now, I'm going to dry out the entire oceans. And then he pulled his arrow to his ear. And immediately the entire mountains, the earth, everything began shaking. And that is when Sagar appeared in his personified form. And he placed jewels deposited in the ocean at the feet of Lord Ram, begging for forgiveness. And he said to him, please accept me as your servant. You have a Vanara called Nala. He is blessed by Lord Brahma. Utilize this blessing and ability to build a bridge over the ocean. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Lord Shiva explains to Parvati, it took 5 days to build the bridge over the ocean. And the bridge was 100 yojanas long, which makes it 800 miles. Today, the Ram Setu from Rameshwaram to Sri Lanka, it's only about 28-30 miles. So in the Surya Siddhanta, it explains, if you were to draw a straight line from Kurukshetra to Ujjain and continue the straight line down exactly to the equator, that marks the Lanka of Ravan. If you draw the line from Kurukshetra, Ujjain, down to the equator, that falls, believe it or not, in the islands of the Maldives. Anyone been there? I haven't been. You've been? Haribol. That was actually the Lanka. So if you go to Google Maps and you type in distance from Rameshwaram to the Maldives, it's 800 miles. Marking precisely the bridge went this way, not that way. Up until 1972, Sri Lanka was actually named Ceylon. And only then was it named Sri Lanka. Yes, Sri Lanka, the Solomon Islands, the Kaknos Islands, they're all part of Ravan's territory, but his palace was in that particular place. So that is where they traveled in order to enter into Lanka. The final story in just 2 minutes is when Lord Ram saw Ravan. The rest for the Sera. Lord Ram, when they crossed over into the Maldives, when they crossed over into Lanka, even the Bhagavatam, Canto 5, chapter 19, text 29 to 30, there were 8 islands created by Maharaj Sagar, and Simhala and Lanka are islands 7 and 8. Simhala, Simhalis, is the old name of Lanka, and Lanka is a separate name out of the 8. So you can read this in your own time. Bhagavatam 5.19.30. When Ram entered into Lanka, he stood upon a mountain. And when he stood upon the mountain, Lord Sri Ram, he camped at Mount Suvela. And while standing on top of Suvela, he looked towards the palace of Ravan, and he saw Ravan sitting in his palace, surrounded by his ministers. You will not believe what happened next. Lord Sri Ram was unable to control himself. Lord Sri Ram, his eyes immediately became red. Just from the sight of seeing Ravan, it was the first time Ram had seen Ravan at such a distance. Ravan was sitting in his palace, surrounded by his ministers. Lord Sri Ram immediately, a crescent arrow, he pulled it and he shot the arrow. It went from Mount Suvela all the way to the palace of Ravan, where Ravan was seated in his room, and that arrow shot by Lord Sri Ram knocked off all 10 crowns and hit all 10 heads of Ravan. Ravan had no idea what just happened. His ministers got perplexed. Where has this arrow come from? Who shot it? Ravan, he was so embarrassed that Lord Shiva says to Parvati, Lajjito Ravan, Turnam. Ravan became full of embarrassment. And what did he do? He walked out of his palace and went to his bedroom, sulking and crying. This is what happened to Ravan when Ram saw him first. The rest of the Katha will be continued during the Sera. Thank you all so very, very much for your time. I hope you all enjoyed the small narrations of the spiritual version of the Ramayana spoken by Lord Shiva to Parvati, the Adhyatma Ramayana. We attempted to just share a few insights that are not commonly known, and time patigyo. Time is now up. I wish you all a very happy year ahead. May you and your families all increase in your service and love towards Lord Sri Ram. And please continue to engage us in service. Thank you all so very much for your time. Jai Sri Ram, Hari Bol.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a massive round of applause for Sri Radha Raman Dasa. I think the week ahead is going to be a very inspirational one for everyone. Prabhuji, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. This, I think it's important to address something like this takes so much planning and time. I know Prabhuji and I have been having exchanges like literally the last 2 weeks on, everything. So it's 2 hours, but please appreciate the time he puts in, not just from his knowledge, but the planning with these amazing, amazing musicians and singers. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's just show one more round of applause. Please give them a big one. And let's give them 3 loud Haribols. Haribol! 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 Ramachandra Bhagwan ki!
Haribol, Haribol. Prabhuji, just 1 second, very quickly. Anjana Prabhu, thank you so much for playing the Esraj and singing so beautifully. Of course, Amanji, thank you so much for your wonderful singing. Vignesh Kapoor was on the harmonium, keeping all the sounds so beautifully together. Thank you, Vignesh. And of course, Dylan, wonderful tabla, Dylan. Thank you so
Rivo.
much. And all of you know my very favorite Jai Raj Ji on such beautiful flutes, kept us all so in our consciousness, so beautifully purified. Thank you so much, Jai Raj Ji. Please keep joining us in the chorus. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jai.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, before you all start running, if everyone could just be stood up, if you can all stand up. So His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has allowed us to be here and facilitated, will now be returning back. So if I could ask if we can lead some kirtan whilst he returns back to his darshan room.
Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare